Post-war demographics created a severe constraint for French military planners. By 1933, casualties from the First World War left France with a conscription pool of just 184,000 men, while Germany could draw from 464,000. This 2-to-1 disadvantage necessitated a defense-in-depth architecture along the eastern border. The system was designed to act as a permanent force multiplier, allowing a specialized garrison to secure the frontier while the field army remained mobile. The physical solution to this deficit cost the modern equivalent of $3.7 billion. The Maginot Line consisted of a series of concrete and steel fortresses embedded directly into the topography of the French border. The engineering was governed by a strict operational doctrine called bataille conduite, or the methodical battle. This doctrine relied on 3 core parameters: centralized command, rigid logistical timetables, and the maintenance of a continuous front to deny the enemy any gap for penetration. To understand why this system collapsed, we must deconstruct how a high-tempo pathfinding exploit bypassed a physical matrix designed to be impenetrable. The Maginot Line served as the physical manifestation of a rigid doctrinal algorithm, built to eliminate battlefield variables and impose absolute order on the front. The internal logic of the system is best observed within the gros ouvrage, the large artillery fortresses that anchored the line. These subterranean cities required a sophisticated internal logistical network to maintain a continuous feed of ammunition to the surface combat blocks. Logistics relied on a 60-centimeter narrow-gauge railway system. Trains moved ordnance from external supply depots directly into the primary magazines deep underground. Within the fort, electric trams operated inside the galleries, delivering shells and supplies to the specialized elevators beneath each combat block. To counter chemical threats, these galleries utilized massive cylindrical filtration banks. These systems maintained atmospheric overpressure, creating a closed-loop environment isolated from gas attacks. Within this mechanization, the French infantryman functioned as a worker-soldier, servicing a heavily automated industrial plant. The fortress matrix was a highly optimized, closed system engineered to sustain localized firepower, effectively isolating its operators from the external environment. Material science dictated the system's limits. French engineers utilized standardized concrete classifications. Category A required 3.5 meters of thickness, while Category E utilized 5 meters. These thresholds rendered the underground facilities impervious to heavy siege artillery. A direct hit could damage the surface, but the interior remained intact. Surface defense was provided by armored cloches and heavy retractable turrets, which could be lowered flush with the ground between firing cycles. These turrets created interlocking fields of fire. Their arcs overlapped perfectly to eliminate blind spots and ensure that any point between fortress nodes was under constant surveillance and potential bombardment. The engineering goal was to halt any mechanized frontal assault with overlapping firepower. On its own terms, the perimeter defense was a success. No frontal kinetic assault ever breached the structural integrity of the line. While the eastern border was hardened, the center of the line rested on a topographical assumption: the Ardennes Forest. The region features parallel ridges, deep river defiles, and a dense forest canopy that makes cross-country movement difficult for large formations. French planners classified this terrain as a natural barrier, impassable to massed motorized units, essentially treating it as a null routing zone for armor. This left the Sedan Hinge, the vital point connecting the northern plains to the Maginot Line, dangerously unfortified. The center of the French front possessed no significant defensive depth. Under the Dial-Breda plan, the French High Command deployed their most mobile and elite reserves into northern Belgium, away from this unfortified center. As this troop density heat map illustrates, the elite forces were concentrated in the north, while the Maginot Line anchored the south. At the Sedan Hinge, a massive void existed where a mobile reserve should have been. By prioritizing static perimeter defense and committing mobile reserves elsewhere, French commanders established a single point of failure at the center of their line. On May 10, 1940, the German military launched Fall Gelb. German planners accounted for the Maginot Line's impenetrable force-to-space ratio. They designed their logistical flow to bypass the fortifications, targeting gaps in the Ardennes. The German pathfinding exploit utilized the Losheim Gap and pre-existing secondary roads through the river valleys, bypassing cross-country obstacles the French expected. This high-tempo motorized advance occurred faster than the slow, methodical siege the French doctrine had anticipated. By utilizing the existing road network with extraordinary efficiency, concentrated German armor divisions reached the Meuse River in just 3 days. They crossed at Sedan, overwhelming the under-equipped reserve divisions stationed there as an economy of effort. The exploit succeeded because its tempo outpaced the centralized French decision-making cycle's ability to process. Following the Meuse crossing, the German armored thrust executed a sharp hook northwest toward the English Channel, encircling the northern Allied armies. The French High Command was paralyzed. Relying on rigid rail timetables, they could not reroute forces to counter the breakthrough. After the breakthrough, the Maginot Line was structurally uncompromised and fully powered, but it was totally isolated in the strategic rear. The fixed architecture could not pivot. Its turrets were designed to project fire forward, leaving the forts unable to defend against assaults from the rear. The billions of francs and 10 years spent on the Subterranean matrix were rendered tactically irrelevant in a campaign that lasted just 46 days. A mathematically perfect defensive matrix is useless if its operating doctrine treats security as an inert wall